It should, it colors up when you hit the on. Otherwise, you can.
So red means it's not, it's.
Red means it's
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds. Good evening again. We're going to call this meeting to order. It is 7:03. I'm going to do the Veronica Jones gavel in her honor. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are opening tonight's meeting in memory of Sheriff's Deputy Charlene Rottler. After graduating from the academy in June 1969, Deputy Rottler was assigned to San Dimas Station and then on to the Sybil Brand Institute for Women. In the summer of 1972, when women were first invited to work patrol, she, along with 19 other women, enrolled in the department's new patrol school. After graduating that August, Deputy Sheriff Trainee Rottler was assigned to Altadena Station, becoming Altadena's first female patrol deputy. 3 short months later, on November 5th, 1972, at approximately 1 in the morning, Deputy Rottler and her partner were responding to a battery call. As their patrol car approached an intersection just west of the Altadena Sheriff Station on Altadena Drive, a drunk driver ran a stop sign and broadsided their patrol vehicle. Initially, first responders thought Deputy Rottler was dead and left her to attend to the other injured passengers of both vehicles. Minutes later, when they realized she was alive, they rushed her to Huntington Memorial Hospital. She underwent over 20 hours of surgery on that first day and then was in a coma for the next month. Deputy Rottler endured 55 major surgeries over the remainder of her life, trying to repair the injuries sustained in 1972. After nearly 4 decades trying to recover from that fateful crash, she passed away on January 3rd, 2010, at the age of 68. We remember her now on the 14th anniversary of her passing and let her loved ones know she is not forgotten. I now invite Lieutenant Batty from the Altadena Sheriff Station up to lead the pledge in her memory.
Thank you. All rise. Right hand over your heart and ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I didn't buy it. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on to item 1.2, roll call. Councilmember Sutherlen.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Council members, listen carefully and answer appropriately when you hear your name. Connor Cipolla.
Present.
Victoria Knapp.
Present.
Nic Arnzen.
Present.
Kim Yu.
Present.
Melissa Morona.
Here.
Dorothy Wong.
Here.
John Carmody.
Here.
Chris O'Malley.
Present.
Rob Bryce. Shafina Hill.
Excused.
Present.
Hall, excuse me. Thank you. Alan Peck.
Excused.
Pat Sutherlen's here. Reginald Wilkins.
Here.
Doug Cauliflower.
Here.
Diane Markison.
Here.
And Sylvia Vega.
Excused.
Okay. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Great. Moving on to item 1.3, approval of the agenda. Councilmember Arnzen.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, fellow council members and community members, both here and watching online. There are agendas in the back of the room, as well as public comment cards. The council welcomes input from the community on both agendized and non-agendized items. If you would like to make a public comment, please fill out the card and give it to a council person on either end of the tables. This includes the public comment section concerning tonight's land use item found in section 6 under committee reports. While the council does not respond to public comment during the meeting, if you would like a response, please be sure to include contact information so we can hand that on to your appropriate census tract council member. This process is in place to ensure that everyone wishing to make public comment has the time to do so and that we can conduct the meeting in an orderly fashion. Council members, the Altadena Town Council Executive Committee met on Tuesday, January 9th to set the agenda for tonight's meeting. The agenda was circulated to you last Thursday, the 11th. I made one minor correction designating Recording Secretary Sutherlen to take our roll call. Also, Mark Mariscal with Rotary is unable to join us, but we will have Doug Cauliflower read a statement from him on his behalf during that allotted time. That's in section 4. Additionally, Chair, I'd like to add a brief Communication Committee report as item 6.3, please.
Okay.
And that is it. I move that we accept the agenda with said changes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Anyone opposed or abstaining? Okay, the agenda is approved as amended. Moving on, my chair report. I'm going to be brief just because we wanted to spend some time recognizing Deputy Rottler. But I wanted to welcome everyone back from the winter holidays and thank everyone for their contributions to our annual holiday party. Specifically, I wanted to thank my fellow council members for the scrumptious food they made and brought and for their help with setup and cleanup. I also want to give a heartfelt thank you to Maggie at El Patron for the rice and beans, to Zach, Billy, and Andrew at Prime Pizza for the pizzas and knots, to Armin at Altadena Pizza Company for the pizzas, and to Layla and Bijan at Bloomfield Creamery for the ice cream. Their support makes this event possible, and it was so lovely to get to visit with so many of you. The Town Council has already been hard at work. I want to recognize the following committees and appoint their chairs for 2024. First, Land Use, Chair Diane Markison. Second, Communications, Councilmember Nic Arnzen, Chair. Safe Streets, Councilmember Wong, Chair. I will be continuing for this near term as Chair of the Education Committee. And I wanted to welcome and acknowledge our newest committee, the Legislative Committee, chaired by Councilmember Melissa Morona. This committee will follow and provide updates to state legislation that affects Altadena. And if you're interested in serving on the committee, please reach out to Councilmember Morona. You can find her email address on the Altadena Town Council website at altadena.towncouncil.org. This concludes my report. Yeah, sure.
Are you also going to be tracking county?
Yes.
Are you also going to be tracking county
Yes,
actions?
we'll also report back on the Board of Supervisor meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Okay, moving on. Vice Chair report, Councilmember Arnzen.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this will be brief. I just want the council members to know we met last week, as mentioned. We put together the agenda. We also discussed, as you saw in an email today, the orientation. We'd like to put that together probably in February. We'll get a hold of you all. And lastly, we did talk about the bylaws, which I believe we voted on. So Dorothy, they're ready to probably go on the website. And lastly, we had a brief discussion about possibly reigniting the film committee. While that's not a go, if there's any interest, I would imagine Chair Knapp would love to hear from somebody who might want to. I know Film LA has gone through a lot over COVID and has had a reduction in shooting on our streets, but that's going to come back up and there's some changes. So I personally think it'd be good to start that film committee again. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on, Recording Secretary, Pat Sutherlen.
I circulated the minutes from the December 19th meeting last week and have received no changes or corrections. Are there any tonight that anyone's thought of since then? Then in that case, I'd move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as presented? Are there any abstentions? There's one.
Right.
One abstention. Yep. Yep. Anybody against? No. Okay. Now on to our treasurer's year-end report. Councilmember O'Malley.
I'm going to make this quick. Just for the month of December, for the period starting December 1st, ending December 31st of 2023, we began with a balance of $1,708.47. There was a $58 cash deposit from the kind residents of Altadena. There was $592.50 worth of withdrawals, and our ending balance for the year was $1,173.97. Our beginning balance of 2023 was $2,272.78 plus in our checkings account, plus the $5 that we are necessitated to keep in a savings account. We had a total of $1,495.10 in income, primarily from donations from our neighbors, but also from election fees during the election. We had $2,588.91 in expenses. That's a check order, 2 retreats, various materials, including badges, gifts like the glasses we just gave out. The expenses from last year's election came in this year. ACAB, how do I say that, Pat? ACAB took a chunk. And the election 23 and GoDaddy, totaling, like I said, $2,588.91. Our ending balance for the year was $1,178.97. An itemized report will be available on the town council website under the approved minutes. I'll get it back to the corresponding secretary to put up. That's my report. Oh, no, that's not my report. While I'm here, the Altadena Town Council is a volunteer organization that depends on the kindness of our neighbors in order to fund things that we spend money on. So if you could see your way to putting $1 or a quarter or, dime, whatever you got in the can, we would very much appreciate it. If you're the last one over here to have the can, please give it to Reggie on the side so he doesn't not put money in it this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Malley. Moving on to item 2.5, Corresponding Secretary, Councilmember Wong.
Thank you, Chair Knapp. Welcome to January 2024. I'm going to try and make this very quick because we have a special guest to make an announcement as well. So I want everyone to take this time to look at our website. I do have a column that has a lot of different county services. And if there's something missing, let me know. Dorothy.wong@altadenatowncouncil.org. There are a lot of events happening in January. So I just wanted to also point out that Clean LA and different types of services that relate to battery recycling and things like that can be found on the town council website, but Clean LA. And then there's been a lot of concern about coyotes. So definitely check out the website, California Fish and Wildlife, Pasadena Humane have different literature on how to coexist, as well as the county weights and measures. So check that out. Lots of information that we can store on our lovely website. Then our quick announcements are coming up is, I think it's going to be talked about at the chamber, right? So the Greater LA Homeless Count, moving ahead, on January 23rd, which happens to be next Tuesday, Altadena will be counting as part of the San Gabriel Valley SPA 3. Currently, we are at almost capacity for our volunteers, but if you would like to volunteer and it says, thank you very much, we're full, just contact me, Dorothy.Wong@Altadena Town Council, and we may find a spot for you to support the volunteer count. Also, coming up on the 20th, there are multiple events going on. The Altadena Community Garden is doing a milkweed giveaway during the day. I think it's from 12 to 3 or 10 to 3, but Altadena Community Garden. On the same day, LA County / Active SGV is going to be doing a community listening session on trees. So there will be more trees coming and how we feel about trees and visioning trees. So I think that starts at 12 at Loma Alta Park. So lots to do with trees and milkweed. And then also the county is advocating for parkway trees that you can plant within the public right-of-way. And that information will also be on the town council website. And then we have an amazing program at Loma Alta Park for youth. a muscle conditioning cardio rhythm class, so check that out. There's salsa dancing going on for all ages. So make sure to stay in touch. We'll try and put a very visible link on LA County Parks because there's so much going on our town council website. Last thing, I know there's so much, but the earthquake brace and bolt program is taking in applications from January 10th to February 21st to get a grant to qualify for bolting earthquake. And then all of our water companies are doing their reports. So Lincoln Avenue Water's board meeting is Friday, and they have also raised their rates. But let's now bring up our special guest, Gary Bryant. He is on the Metropolitan Water District Board representing the Foothill Municipal Water District. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, members of the Town Council. As stated, I am the director from Foothill Municipal Water District, but also the representative to the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And as most of you know, it is the regional purveyor of water for approximately 19 million people in Southern California. So, there is a pending shutdown that Metropolitan intends to do on the upper feeder to do necessary repairs, effective February 5th, and that would be a Monday. It is a 5-day shutdown, and we are asking and encouraging you to turn off all your irrigation controllers, cease all outdoor watering, don't mow your lawns, take shorter showers, place a bucket in the shower to collect water before warming up, and you can use it to water plants. Do not leave water running when washing dishes, brushing teeth, or shaving, and run only full loads in your washing machine and dishwater. Do not use water to clean the sidewalks, driveways, parking lots, and other hardscapes. So, again, we encourage you to conserve, and if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer them if I can.
Councilmember Markison.
I just have a quick question. Does this affect if you get water from City of Pasadena?
Do we get water from the City of Pasadena?
I get water from City of Pasadena. Does it
It is going to impact the City of Pasadena as well.
Okay.
So it would be, the communities affected would be Altadena, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, Crescenta. Oh, okay. Okay.
I didn't know he was going to be speaking. I'm Natalie Auersloot. I'm with Pasadena Water.
Come up to the microphone, Natalie.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And Nina Jasmindarian asked me to come tonight to speak. So if there's any questions about the City of Pasadena water during this shutdown, I'm here to answer those questions.
So just to confirm, February 5th for 5 days.
Correct. 5 days.
That's right.
Are there any other questions? Do you need a minute for it to sink in? Usually we have questions. Okay. We so appreciate your coming to let us know, and we will also make sure that that information is on our website, because I'm sure as the 5th approaches and we get into that week, that people will have questions.
Thank you. Rubio, Lincoln Avenue Water Company, and the Los Flores Water Company will also be sending updates as well to those who are in the Altadena residence.
Great. Los Flores did send it out. Great. Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And if I may clarify for Pasadena Water and Power, we are currently at a level 2 water shortage level, meaning that there's only 1 day per week outdoor watering. And for that reason, we're not going to send out a notice to residents. We're going to be patrolling the streets to make sure residents are meeting the 1 day per week outdoor watering. And we are reaching out to our key accounts, so Caltech, Pasadena Community College, the schools, the golf courses, and they will assist us with curbing outdoor watering. And so therefore, we believe we can meet all water demands with this strategy.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, hold on.
Is there a special way for people to report infractions?
Yes, we have the Pasadena Citizen Service Center, and if you call them with concerns about outdoor watering or misuse thereof, then you can report them there.
5 days, from February 5th, 5 days.
Yes, just 5
Okay.
days.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our officers' reports. We're moving on to our public safety reports. We start with the Altadena Sheriff Station, and in captain's stead is Lieutenant Petit.
Hello again. Let's see here. December stats. Looks like we were hit hard with property crimes and assaults, but the assaults were minor in nature. No victims were injured. Property crimes, they consisted of a lot of package thefts, people following FedEx and Amazon, stealing packages. Also catalytic converters, thefts, and most of the vehicles hit were Toyotas. There was an increase in residential burgs and vehicle burgs. There were exactly 11 vehicle burgs. We actually implemented some crime strategies along the hiking trails of Eaton Canyon and Cheney Trails. And they worked. And there were zero thefts in December. And we got some help from resources, outside resources, and we also got some more personnel in, and those actually work. So we're going to be looking to maybe implement those in other areas where these other crimes happen, but that's based on our personnel. January, it was a pretty good month of January. Crime was trending down, but we did have unfortunately, we had a sexual battery that occurred actually this past weekend that involved a 16-year-old, and the suspect was 51-year-old male, and he was identified and arrested. We had an assault with a deadly weapon, pistol pointing incident that occurred where the suspect pointed a handgun at the victim. There was a warrant enforced and executed, and the suspect was arrested, and the firearm was recovered. We also had a carjacking along the area of Marengo Avenue and Woodbury Road. A suspect approached the victim while he was getting some items out of his trunk, and approached the victim and struck him. The victim fell, and while he was on the ground, the suspect took his wallet and his keys and took his car. So right now, I believe that's all we have. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Oh, the carjacking? No, he's still outstanding. Yes.
Just a reminder to everyone to please not shout out from the audience. But if you do have a question, everyone that's here that's presenting will be here and available afterwards, so you're more than welcome to talk to them, or you can go into the lobby and talk to them as well. Council members, anybody have any questions of the lieutenant? Go ahead, Councilmember Hall.
I just do have a quick question regarding the assault and battery. It did happen in 4610. and you did give some details. Is there any chance that we might have some surveillance, or is something like that in the works?
I believe on the assault and battery, it is, what do you mean, for the carjacking? Or?
I think she means the sexual assault
The
at
sexual
Charles
assault.
White Park.
I believe there was video. The detectives are working on that right now.
Okay.
But the suspect was identified and he is arrested. He was arrested, so he's in jail now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to California Highway Patrol. I saw Officer Bay in the back. A freshly shaven Dr. Bay.
That is
Officer Bay.
correct. Yes, I don't know if you know, my appearance may have changed for 2024. I just figured my new daughter, she kept on pulling on my mustache hair, so it's good that she is stimulated in that way, but it was kind of hurting Dad for a little bit. So good evening, council members of the public. I'm Officer Brian Bay with the California Highway Patrol. I'm just going to provide some statistics for the year of 2023 as well as November and December. Regarding traffic crashes, Altadena CHP investigated 20 total traffic crashes. 8 of those were involving with injuries, 2 were hit and runs, no DUIs, and 10 were property damage only. I do want to note that 2 of those traffic crashes in November were vehicles versus pedestrians. This occurred at Mar Vista and New York Drive. At approximately 7:30 in the morning. It could have been a possible medical emergency. That's how the investigation kind of went forward. So we're not sure if the vehicle was involved, but that's my note right there. As well as a vehicle versus pedestrian on Pepper in New York. That occurred in the evening hours of 6:45 with some substantial injuries. For the month of December, we had 21 total traffic crashes that we investigated. 8 of those involved injuries. Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to read the same statistic. 5 were injuries. 6 were hit and run related. 2 DUIs and 8 property damage onlys. I do want to note that there were 2 other vehicle versus pedestrian traffic crashes on Mendocino and Lake at 7:45 in the morning, which resulted in minor injuries, and Lincoln and Harriet at 1:30 in the afternoon with minor. With that being said, it's kind of to note that those traffic crashes occurred during the mornings of dawn and dusk. So please, if you're a pedestrian walking during that time, if you can see the car, odds are that they cannot see you as well. So please exercise due caution during those hours of the day. I do want to keep this short. I know we haven't been here in a while. So the CHP participated in Christmas Tree Lane, which was a success. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there, but that was a success, as well as we escorted the University of Alabama for the Rose Bowl and the floats for the parade. CHP was also, we have our program called Chips for Kids. Thank you very much for those who have participated in that in the community. We had over 2,000 toys that were donated to our just our station alone, and thus a lot of nonprofit organizations were able to utilize those gifts. As for total crashes for 2023, my tablet actually crashed, no pun intended, but trying to get all these. But I found that we investigated over 4,700 traffic crashes for the year of 2023, and a chunk of those, 250 were DUI related. Now, this is not within the community. I just want to make sure I emphasize that. This is within the area that we patrol, which is Pasadena, Altadena, Glendale, Burbank, all the way through Sun Valley and Pacoima, and the Crest as well. So that's just our geographic area. So we are out there investigating, but that also begs basically understand that there are a lot of traffic crashes that you may not see. So please exercise due caution as well. On the flip side of that, we did our area issued over 24,000 traffic citations. I do not have the breakdown of those. I don't know if they were all moving traffic violations or if they were just mechanical. We do issue a lot of verbal warnings too. I do want to say that too as well, but we want to make sure that people are safe to where they're going and that they are arriving driving to arrive. So we're out there trying to make sure that our families are safe. I do want to note there are new stop signs, traffic patterns on Woodbury, Santa Rosa, as well as Windsor up near, I think it's just south of Ventura. So we've saw that. We had Captain Moulton. He retired, as well as Lieutenant Jones. Thank you very much for the commendation for Lieutenant Jones. We really appreciate that. So we're going to be having a new captain, Captain Santiago, come in hopefully next month and introduce himself. That's when he'll be reporting. I just want to end by saying thank you for allowing the Highway Patrol to come up for the year 2023 and report and be amongst the community. We really appreciate that, and we hope to have a very good, productive 2024. Does the council have any questions?
It's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I have a couple of questions. One, with the hit and runs in December,
Yes.
was anyone ever apprehended after the fact?
So that's a different report. So I would have to utilize a different system
Okay.
to investigate that, but I can look to see. I think we had 6, right?
Yeah.
For that month. I can look. I can check that out.
Okay. And then I'm going to send out to council members the same spreadsheet we used last year for patrol and enforcement in the hot spots in their census tracts.
Okay.
I will say that I attended a meeting here in this room as it relates to the road improvement project that's going to be coming up at Washington and Altadena. And many, many, many comments were about speed. Speed along Altadena Drive, north of New York Drive, speed along Washington for sure. So we will note that. I haven't seen, usually we see some patrol out. I haven't seen anyone yet in 2024, but I will get that to you so you can schedule your time.
Of course.
And I see that Council Member Markison has a question.
The New York Drive and Pepper, can you give me the date again of that one?
I do not have the date.
Oh, okay.
I just have the time. I can provide that, definitely, just the date and the time.
The time was?
At Pepper, I'm sorry, let me just. Right, yeah, that's at 6:45 in the evening. Like I said, I apologize. It's in November, but I can.
Okay.
Right.
I can email you too. We're
Of
working
course.
on that intersection.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question, but if anybody
Councilmember
else?
Wong?
Anybody else? Thank you for your work in our community. It'd be great to see if we could also pull out the number of pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcycles in that collision data.
Sure.
I appreciate that. And then May will be Bike to School Day, so thank you for your work on Walk to School Day. We're going to be getting our youth out there, rolling their wheels.
Of course.
So, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to LA County Fire, Maria Grycan.
Okay.
Christmas in January, Diane.
Yes, because Victoria got yours.
And I got a text about that too.
I was watching online.
Okay. Happy New Year. We can still say that, right? For the month of December, a total of 433 responses. 335 of those were medical calls, and 255 patients were transported. 9 of those medical calls were traffic collisions, and I have 3 that were versus pedestrian. So I have the 2 that Officer Bay spoke about, but I also have 1 that was at Acacia Street and Lincoln Avenue on December 9th. In all 3 cases, because I look up just to make sure they weren't bicyclists, they were all 3 pedestrians crossing the street. And in one case, it was a car turning right, and the pedestrian was crossing So the car hit. And in all three cases, the car was moving at a very slow rate of speed. So that takes care of those. We had 3 fires during the month. One was a trash fire, one was a short circuit arc in faulty electrical wiring, and the third one was an outside fire along the side of the house. The cause was undetermined, but it is probable that the origin of that fire was 3 trash cans that were up against the side of the house. 'Cause that's where most of the damage was done. So, did I do that? Okay. So for that fire, it did get a little, they did have to check, they had to break through some drywall in a bedroom and make sure there was no extension into the attic or into the house. And so that was the only damage that was done, was them just making sure that there was no extension. That's about it. Our safety tip of the month, well, it says with the rainy season upon us. Okay, so rain is coming. So we do have more rain coming. So for people who live in the foothills, if they need to get sandbags ahead of that rain, our fire stations do have sandbags. Some of our fire stations also have sand, but at a minimum, they all have sandbags. So we would encourage people to go and get those sandbags while it is still dry, because you don't want to be doing that when it is raining. So just prepare yourself, know how to stay safe if a flood threatens. Don't walk, swim, or drive through floodwaters. It doesn't take a lot for moving water to knock you down. Usually in intersections where there's signs posted that say do not cross, do not drive through, the signs are there for a reason, so we would encourage people to heed those signs. A lot of people think, well, I can make it through, and they go through and get stuck. So we don't want you to be one of those people. That is it for the report, unless there's any questions on the report.
Any questions? None?
Okay, so
Oh.
2 things I have.
Hold on one second, Maria. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Sorry, not a question, but just a statement. I wanted to extend my thanks and gratitude to the LA County Fire Health Hazmat Division. One of my residents called about the hazmat incident, the spill that's listed on this. They called me. I actually checked in with their office and their EOS unit. They sent out a great team, and I knew it would be handled. So I want to thank Chief Tresieres for that response, and thank you for your work in keeping Altadenians safe.
Our pleasure. Okay, and while I present Diane with her radio, Chief Sprengel is here, so he would just like to say hello.
Thank you, Maria, and I'll take that back to Health Hazmat. I appreciate that opportunity. I don't get to be here as often as I would like with my schedule, but I just want to say I hope you guys all had good holidays and Happy New Year to you, and look forward to 2024, working with you in 2024 again. And I want to publicly thank Maria for her work that she does on a weekly basis, really a daily basis in this community, for the works that she does. It doesn't get any better than Maria throughout LA County. And she is all over regardless of what it is. So she's truly my boss. So I appreciate that, Maria, and her work that she does here. And then working with you. And then always working with the community of Altadena is always good, and I appreciate it. And I'll try to make it as often as I can here with you. So with that, I'll finish with any questions for fire across the board.
Any questions, council members? It is so nice to see you. Thank you for coming. And I know Maria said she had one more thing. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. For you. Okay, I have searched high and low, and there were no fire incidents at the beginning of November in the Meadows. And so what I did was I looked for the last 3 months on a map where that shows me where incidents are, and there's only been one incident in the Meadows in the last 3 months. It was on October 31st, and it was a kitchen fire. So that was it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it so much. And sorry for the wrong date. I think Facebook threw me for a loop there.
Okay, so might it have been the October 31st?
I think it was, because it was actually November 2nd that I had the date, so I'm assuming within a few days of that.
Okay,
then
yeah,
that
it
would
was
have
just a
been
kitchen,
fire.
it was a cooking fire.
Okay,
So
great. Thank you
in the
so much.
kitchen.
That's helpful. I appreciate it so much, Maria.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, moving on to item 3.4, CERT, Deb Halberstadt.
Good evening, Council. Altadena LASD Community Emergency Response Team is changing its meeting dates from monthly to quarterly at the top of the quarter. Dates for the meetings include the second Wednesday of January, April, July, and October. We had our first meeting in line with the new formula last Wednesday here at the Altadena Community Center at 5:30. We can meet here because the Altadena Sheriff's Station has put us on their insurance waiver because we report to them. I'm working with the Altadena Library to discuss using the community room in conjunction with the community center to offer CERT training here in Altadena. I really don't think people who live here want to go much farther than here, but facilities has been a challenge. I'm trying to utilize both facilities to see if we can work around the new staffing challenges that exist since COVID. During our meeting, we talked about the recent Japanese earthquake, which, as we all know, was horrific. But because it was the Japanese, not so many people died. They are extremely well organized in Japan around earthquakes. And then we talked about how to become a ham radio operator. We discussed California's red flag law, or GVRO, gun violence restraining order, that went into effect 7 years ago. Judy Chu, since Monterey Park, has really been touting the GVRO. If the council has any questions about it, I'll refer you to Lieutenant Bate, because they have many more details than I have. We discussed mutual aid on the part of our LA County Fire, LASD, and the USFS firefighters during our last small brush fire called the Millard Fire in the vicinity of Cobb Estate last summer. We all saw it. What was really spectacular was the helicopter that was there for LA County Fire, also sponsored by SCE, who helps to pay for the downtime for the helicopters. All of us probably saw it. It was spectacular. But what was really cool was the mutual response we had, and it was so fast. Further discussions included what we knew to do or prepare for power outages, earthquakes, wildfire, cyber attacks, and the continuing pandemic of viruses. Our next meeting is April 10th. Are there any questions?
What time is the meeting?
5:30. And we stop at 6:50, so we can clean up and leave here. It's not a very long meeting.
Any questions for Deb? It's so good to see you. Thanks for being here, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, and good luck with your new position.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to our community reports. Rotary Doug Cauliflower.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Just a few announcements. On February 10th, the Altadena Rotary Club will be celebrating our 75th anniversary with a gala at the Altadena Town and Country Club. I have some invites back on the table and some registration cards if you so desire. Everybody is welcome. It's the 40s theme, which will be following the Chambers event, which is 20s theme. So it'll be an interesting week. And then secondly, we have commenced with the planning for the 27th annual summer concert series at Farnsworth Park. So that is off and running. The season will kick off on June 29th this year. And then we have also begun our annual scholarship awards process. Each year we give Pasadena City College and Pasadena School District students and teachers more than $34,000 in grants. And those are distributed over the springtime. And last but not least, our next pancake breakfast is Saturday, June 1st at Grocery Outlet. So please note those. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Inviting up our library partner, Nikki Winslow.
All right. Good evening, council members and members of the community. Happy New Year's to everyone. I personally feel like 2024 is going to be awesome as compared to the last few years. So I did want to thank council for giving us the time each month, or bi-monthly now, right? Yes. Okay, so I'll be reporting every 2 months now, so I will be covering a little bit more content when I come. Thank you for giving us the time to update the community. So as usual, an upcoming library closure will be on Monday, February 19th in observance of President's Day. I did want to announce that we are now recruiting for a facilities manager. If you visit our website, I'm going to post it tomorrow. It's not up there tonight yet, but please spread the word for anyone that may be interested in applying for our facilities manager position. Our Board of Trustees meet each month on the fourth Monday at 5 o'clock, so that will be this coming Monday, the 22nd. We also live stream all of their meetings if you want to take a watch the meetings from home. We also post all of our agenda packages at least 72 hours in advance, so you can take a look at the agenda and see what will be covered. I did want to highlight that this coming Monday, the board will be reviewing the request for proposals, or RFP, for construction services for the Bob Lucas Library project. So that's the big thing that we'll be covering next week. So I wanted to make sure all of the council members, who I already emailed about this, and community members are aware of a very important hearing that is taking place next Tuesday, January 23rd at 9 a.m. downtown. I put flyers in the back with all the information about the hearing. But basically, if you want to go to the next slide, what will be taking place is a presentation and overview of the Bob Lucas project. The hearing is for us to be able to get our conditional use permit so we can actually start work on the library. Any interested person may appear and comment. The hearing officer will approve or deny. They will definitely approve. I just want to throw that out there. If you can attend, we'd really appreciate, you can attend either in person or online. So we'd really like to show a strong backing of this project. So please, if you are available next Tuesday, please try to attend. In terms of another building project update, the Board of Trustees approved design documents for the main library last week. What that means is we'll now move into construction documents with our architectural firm. I'm sure it's not a big shock that with cost escalation, we're facing some budget shortfalls on the main library project, but we did get a very large grant from the state library, and I'm working with them to try to help us make up that difference. I did want to point out that we're going to be releasing a long list of naming opportunities at both the main library and Bob Lucas. So if you'd like a study room or a reading court or anything like that named after you, please come see me. We'd be happy to make that happen. There is a web page on our website, which is altadena.library.org/nextchapter, where we continually update the website on what's going on with the building projects. So real quick, our next Friends of the Altadena Library book sale will take place on Saturday, February the 24th. Usually starts at 10 a.m. More information to come, and you can visit the website for that. Can't believe it's already time to appoint 2 new poets laureate. Seems like we just did that, and it was a whopping 2 years ago already. Those interested should visit our website for more information. It's like one of the first things that scrolls on the website when you get on there. Last time we had several really excellent applicants, hoping for that same process again this time. Deadline to apply is February the 10th. Our current poets laureate, both Peter Harris and Carla Sameth, continue to offer some really amazing poetry programs. So if you're interested, our next one will take place on Tuesday, February 27th at 6 p.m. at the main library, and it will be former Altadena poets laureates reading. So would love to see you there. So Second Saturday is back. We had our first one of the year last weekend. February 10th is going to feature Kenny Sarah and the Sounds of New Orleans. We're also continuing to partner with Mount Low Chamber Players, and we'll have one of their wonderful concerts, if you've never been, highly recommend, on Sunday, February 25th at 3 o'clock at the main library, and that one will be an interactive family concert. So as usual, have lots of exhibits going on at the library. I am proud to share that our very own library clerk, Janelle Ketcher, has an exhibit at the main library featuring her postal service for the dead now through February 27th. She was actually featured on the front page of the calendar section of the LA Times, I believe either January 2nd or 3rd, about this program. So her work is up, and we'll be having a reception for her on January 29th at 5:30. And then there will also be a main library Fab Lab, Love Letters for the Dead, that she'll be leading as well on February the 5th. So yeah, come check that out. So a couple other programs. So in January, we still have a blood drive this coming Friday and Saturday in partnership with Huntington Health. So if it's time for you to donate, come on over to the library this weekend. I'll be doing it as well. Oh, it is? Okay. So I will also, I'm excited because it's time for me to donate. We'll also be doing our monthly open mic night in coordination with Callisto Tea House. I guess the last time we did it there, it was like a packed house. So really fun. That'll be this coming Monday, the 22nd at 6. We'll also be having Lego Day, Saturday, January 27th at 2 o'clock at the main library. And then to close out the month, Wednesday, January the 31st, we'll be featuring children's author Karen Levis to present her book, Mighty Muddy Us. So just to highlight a couple of programs from February, since again, I won't be back until March. On Friday, February 2nd, we'll be having the Lion Dancers with Immortals Lion Dance in the library parking lot. This is amazing if you've never attended, so highly recommend. Saturday, February 3rd, we'll be offering a Writing Your Story workshop with Lorinda Hawkins-Smith at 11 a.m. at the main library. Again, in partnership with Callisto Tea House, we'll be having a sip and poem program Thursday, February 15th at 6 o'clock. And then Tuesday, February 20th at 6 at the main library, Rites and Rituals, the Making of African American Debutante Culture. So please help us celebrate Black History Month. There's several other programs that'll be taking place. Highly recommend you check out the website, altadenalibrary.org/programs. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Nikki? That was a lot of information, very well presented.
Oh, thank you very
so
much. Yes. And
we
I think that was under 10 minutes. I'm just throwing
I
that
think
out
so,
there.
for sure. Although I'm surprised Chris O'Malley was not timing you. And we certainly appreciate your flexibility and that of Parks and Rec for your alternating months. Okay, moving on. Chamber of Commerce. Is Judy here? Oh, there she is. Hi.
Good evening, Altadena Town Council and the community. Happy New Year. Altadena Chamber of Commerce welcomes in the new year, focusing on programs for 2024. I draw your attention to the Shop Local LA County Pledge. The Department of Economic Opportunity has launched this program, which allows you to enter into a drawing to win $500 gift card to your favorite local business. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but you should really look at that. Altadena Chamber of Commerce Centennial Celebration is Friday, February the 2nd at the Altadena Town and Country Club. as Doug has also mentioned. We will honor Doug Cauliflower as Citizen of the Year and El Patron Restaurant as Business of the Year. Please join us in this historical occasion, and if you have not purchased your tickets, please do so. Empowering businesses through relationships. That's the Mega Mixer. It's in February at the La Meridian Hotel in Pasadena, California. The Mega Mixer Expo is a premier annual event connecting diverse industries and enabling growth opportunities across Southern California. This is part of a collaboration of chambers. If you've never heard of that, the collaboration of chambers is going to be doing a lot of things this year. You find more activity that way than you do doing something individually because of cost. This event, as I said, is part of the collaboration of chambers, and please visit the website, our chamber's website at altadenachamber.org to learn more about these events and others for 2024. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Judy? Okay. Good to see you. We'll see you at your upcoming event. Okay, we're moving on to our special presentations. Is Audrey here? This is going to be the West San Gabriel area plan.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. Great, thank you. So I'm Audrey Arakelian with the Community Studies East section of the LA County Planning Department, and I will be explaining a bit about the West San Gabriel Valley Area Plan and how it relates to Altadena. Next slide. So just a quick planning overview. LA County Planning facilitates the planning and development for property in unincorporated areas. So this includes housing, commercial areas, public facilities. And the area plan and our work in community planning is focused on long-range planning. So we're looking at how to help guide communities and how they potentially change over time. And next slide. So it's just a quick overview of general plans and area plans and their relationships. So every jurisdiction in California is required to adopt a general plan. Ours was adopted in 2015, and it guides the growth and development of unincorporated LA County. The county is actually divided into 11 planning areas per the recent general plan. And this allows for different strategies to accommodate the diverse geographies of LA County. So the general plan requires that each planning area have adopt an area plan. And so it is the area plan that'll build on the goals of the general plan, but kind of strategize them to fit a local scale and to fit the local context so that they'll be more specific than they are for the county areas. Next slide, please. So there are 9 unincorporated communities in the West San Gabriel Valley. And generally our planning area is kind of north and east of LA and Glendale, west to north of the 605, and obviously south of the Angeles National Forest. Next slide. There are also a few components to the area plan project. So there's the area plan itself, which has the goals and programs, essentially the policy document. There is the CSD and area plan ordinance, which would include any potential CSD updates for all the communities that have CSDs. There are any sort of technical studies that inform the plan itself, the environmental document, and there's community engagement and outreach that will be ongoing through the life of the project itself. And the important thing to remember is the area plan is actually used to apply for grants and funding to implement the policies and the recommended actions. And so that's one of the key things that we actually use the plan for. Next slide, please. So the process, we start with visioning, which we did in the fall for the communities in the West San Gabriel Valley. And from the visioning and the feedback we got from you all, we use that to inform our analysis of land use and zoning, and develop sort of some studies and background reports, and then also use that to help plan, draft and edit the plan itself. So where we are now is looking at the land use analysis and looking at the first sort of preliminary elements of drafting the plan, which is actually why I'm here to try to plug having people participate in the Altadena Planning Advisory Group, which will have its first online meeting, virtual meeting, February 7th in the evening. So I'll plug it many times. Moving on to the next slide, I'm going to focus a little bit, actually one more thing. So the plan has 6 elements. No, sorry, next slide. I actually forgot. Thanks, sorry. The plan has 6 elements. It's going to focus on all aspects that we deal with in planning. So there's land use, which is exactly means how the land is being used. Mobility, which is transit-oriented and walking, driving, conservation, open space, public facilities, economic development, and historic preservation. And each of those elements has their own series of policies that govern those topic areas. Next slide. So now I'm going to actually look a little bit with you at Altadena specifically and how it relates to the plan. So next slide. You're obviously aware of the characteristics of Altadena that we need to take into consideration when we work on this area plan. There are significant scenic qualities and natural resources, lots of open trails, open space and trails, the Lake Avenue area, but also the secondary commercial corridors, which we're going to actually be taking a look at based on feedback that you've been giving us, and the historic resources in the equestrian district. So I'm not going to run through everything on the slide, but if you want to share it later on, we can share the presentation. So Altadena also has an existing community plan, which was adopted in 1986. So one of the things that we will be doing, and ideally in concert with you all as part of this planning advisory group, is looking at the area plan because it will be, or at the community plan, because it will be incorporated into the area plan as a chapter of the area plan. So we'll be looking at updating community-specific policies, ideally, retooling, asking what's working, what's missing, what we need to revise and reassess as part of this area plan process. Next slide, please. So as part of the visioning workshop, we did receive some really useful, helpful feedback. And basically, what we heard was a lot about wanting a community that is safe for walking, biking, having a vibrant commercial area, but also vibrant communities with social gathering spaces. We learned that Altadenans care a lot about access to and preservation of open space, dark skies, and sensitive habitat, and about directing development away from hazard areas and sensitive habitats. And one of why we do the visioning workshop is essentially to gather the values of the community, what's important to you, what you would like to see changed, what you would like to see preserved, and have that inform the area plan, and specifically the Altadena chapter of the area plan. We also learned, again, that there is a desire for equity and more resources and investments in West Altadena as well. Next slide, please. So there are a series of strategies that we have developed to meet the county's goals at the local scale, but the strategies and the way they're implemented can vary across communities, which is why each community kind of has their own chapter, and also why we have area plans to tether off of the general plan. So the first strategy, both in response to the general plan and also what we've heard from community members, is having a diversity of land uses. Altadena is well over 90% single-family residential, which is not very diverse as far as a land use space. So to facilitate access to retail, goods and services within walking distance of neighborhoods, and also a wider diversity of housing options that are context sensitive to Altadena, that fit the scale of Altadena. One of the goals is to try to figure out where this diversity of land uses can happen. Next strategy. So walkable and connected. Again, the plan is going to support promoting walkability and transit access to goods, services, and increasing access to open space and trails. Next strategy. And finally, to conserve and preserve. So we're looking to try to maintain the character of the communities, direct development away from natural resources and hazard areas, and identify opportunities to conserve open space and scenic resources. Next slide. So these sort of strategies, taken into consideration the specifics of Altadena, We're looking at trying to potentially expand housing diversity near transit or commercial nodes, and focusing and looking at those areas for any diversity in housing. Again, that fits the context of Altadena. Looking again at how to create safe pathways where pedestrian connectivity can work and can be enhanced. And since your northern area is part of the Altadena foothills and arroyos, significant ecological area, we're looking at ways to enhance conservation and preservation of natural resources, specifically as it relates to the significant ecological areas. Next slide. So again, looking at options improving access to open space, transit connectivity, exploring transit alternatives. As we know, there are streets with inclines that may not be walkable for everyone. Looking at trying to support Lake Avenue as the commercial core, but also to look at the secondary commercial corridors and how we can enhance and help revitalize the secondary corridors, and looking at sort of supporting them with walkability and recommendations for beautification. We will also, again, in concert with community members, be looking at the Altadena Community Standards District, and specifically with your input on what updates, if any, are needed to better serve the community's vision. And next steps. So where we are now is there's a summary of the workshop feedback, the visioning workshop feedback online on our website if you want to get a little bit more detail on that. As I said, we're presently reviewing the land uses based on feedback and research and looking at making changes with the strategies I laid out. We'd like to share early drafts of that with community members through the Altadena Planning Advisory Group, again, which will be meeting online February 7th. And as far as the overall timeline, the project is ideally going to Planning Commission in the fall and to the Board of Supervisors before the end of the year. Next slide. So you can feel free to contact us. Email's up there, but I also have business cards with me if you want to connect with me. But also, please let your neighbors know, community groups. We'd love to have a wide representation from all parts of Altadena, participating, a wide diversity of residents and businesses. So yeah, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us, and thank you for your time. Yes.
The meeting on the 7th is at what time?
No, so our intention is to meet, actually, if we can, monthly, to go over iterations of the plan, early developments of the plan, get your feedback sort of early and often. So ideally monthly if we can get people to participate on a monthly basis, all virtually. When we have anything sort of an early draft or a preliminary sort of draft, we would try to meet with the Altadena Planning Advisory Group to go through it and try to have it be an open dialogue and conversation, so it's not just like, hey, we developed this thing, and we're going to give it to you for feedback. We kind of like it to be earlier and often so that we can craft a plan that is better supported and have that feedback come more quickly than at the end.
So the Altadena Advisory Group meeting that's on the 7th of February, what time is that?
It's at 7 p.m.
It's at 7 p.m. And you said that was virtual?
That's virtual.
Virtual.
They'll all be virtual just for people to be able to participate.
Okay. And then Councilmember Markison?
To set expectations, you said it's going to the board at the end of the year, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
To set expectations for everybody, the actual implementation of anything where we would see Altadena morph, right?
Yeah.
Is what timeline?
So the timeline of the plan is about 20 years.
Okay.
And so depending on the different types of programs, we generally make like what we call an implementation plan, and it'll be a table of all the actions that support the policies that'll help implement the policies, and they'll each have a timeline. It'll be short, medium, long, and the amount of funding they would need. But again, most of the implementation is dependent on getting funding, grants, or board office funding, or anything like that.
Implementation of building new housing?
Implementation of any policy. So anything that involves like any infrastructure. So if we're recommending, certain streets to have more pedestrian infrastructure or have more pedestrian friendlies.
Okay.
That's not something our department actually implements. That would be Public Works, but we work with Public Works on the plan. So
Okay.
we don't craft any policies that they don't actually agree to and sign on to. So yeah, that's where we work with Parks and Recs on working on the open space part of the plan. We'll work with Public Works. We work with Public Health. So we're all trying to make sure that all the policies are signed off on each of the departments that would actually implement them. But it is a longer time range, yeah.
Councilmember O'Malley?
If one wanted to join the February 7th virtual meeting, where might one find the link to do so?
I emailed out a link, but I can see if we can put it also on the webpage. That would probably be helpful. So let me talk to our IT people and see if we can put it on the webpage, but I can also email anyone the link directly. Yeah.
If you did, Dot, you have the email with does the full council have it?
Of course, please, yeah. In the email, I say please forward. So
Yes. Will you forward it to everybody?
If you got the email, because I happen to have your email address, please feel free to forward it. Yes.
The original meeting group was the Land Use Committee. So that's the context I think that they have, and that may have been where the meeting notice went out to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it could be outdated too.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I included everyone I had the email address for.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. We are moving on to Metro Micro. And just to confirm, is it Melissa? It's Monica. Okay. And Wayne. Okay. It's so interesting because I texted Dave Perry just to let him know that we were having you tonight, and he said, I'm so glad Melissa's presenting. And I went,
I get Melissa, Nicole.
oh my goodness.
I
Okay.
have a lot of
So Dorothy
names
was
that
right.
people
It was
give me.
Monica. Okay. And Wayne's here too. Great.
Yes, so I'm presenting to you about Metro Micro, and then Wayne is the planner for the San Gabriel Valley Service Council area. So he's going to talk to you about some of the next-gen data that we've recently been releasing. So this is a presentation that's very similar to what was seen by our service councils last week, and Dot asked if I could bring it to you, and so here we are.
Great.
Go ahead and go on to the next slide. So for those that aren't familiar, Metro Micro, we started with an unsolicited proposal that hit Metro in 2017, and the board authorized further study of it. We went through a design process with a few different firms. We got all ready to implement, got board approval on February 27th, 2020. And then we had to make some changes the next few months, but we were able to launch in December of 2020 with our first 2 zones, and we launched the rest of them throughout 2021. Next slide. So the reasons why the board was intrigued by this concept was, first of all, for years, ridership had been falling. And we were all aware of that, and that's not specific to Los Angeles. That's a trend all over the country, and it's not even specific to transit. That's a trend all over transportation that was accelerated by the pandemic. We know that some of that was being diverted to what so-called TNCs like Uber and Lyft. We also knew we were embarking on our next-gen study, so we knew that there were areas where our fixed route services, that's bus and rail, were not working very efficiently. We were seeing really low ridership, and we weren't even able to offer very much service in those areas. We had long headways, 40 to 60 minutes, because of the low ridership, and those things just kind of feed each other, right? We also were stepping up on meeting our customer experience goals, taking more stock of what our ridership wanted and needed and expected from Metro. We wanted to look at how we could make another rung at the bottom of the career ladder for operators. We knew that recruiting and retaining bus and rail operators was a challenge we were going to be increasingly facing as folks got older and retired, so we wanted to see if we could experiment with ways to make that work better. And of course, we were testing out this 2-step procurement model where we had multiple agencies and entities engaged in a contract to compete to design the project with us, and then we picked the winning design out of those to go forward with implementation. Next slide, please. So where we are now, since we launched in December of 2020, we have gotten to where we have 8 zones in operation. We've actually launched 9, but then we combined 2 of them. As of December 24th, 2023, we had served 46,134 unique users, and they had completed 1,637,108 passenger boardings. By the way, there's more unique users, but we have people who book through our call center. They don't have to have an account, so we don't know how many of those there are necessarily. And we've done all of this maintaining an average ride rating of 4.85 out of 5 stars. Our original goal was 4.5. Now we have 165 square miles of territory that we serve, including the entire community of Altadena. We touch 29 cities, 12 incorporated, unincorporated communities. We serve about 2,550 boardings every weekday on average, and we do this with about 150 operators and a fleet of 82 vehicles. Next slide. This overview map just gives you an idea of where we have Metro Micro throughout the county and also how it relates to our rail and bus rapid transit network as well. You guys are up there in the corner. I see you. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these. The rest of them are at the end of the presentation, so Dot has them. But you guys are right next to this zone, Highland Park, Eagle Rock, Glendale. We've got a little corner of it that's in South Pass. Just thought I'd put that up there so that you know that it's not just about the Altadena, Pasadena, Sierra Madre zone, which is the next slide. But here's where it's all happening, right? So this zone has our highest average weekday ridership. Highland Park, Eagle Rock, Glendale actually has our average weekend highest ridership, but that's another story. So we were actually very motivated to ensure that we were connecting people to the hiking trails, the north end of this zone. As well as you can see, I put our bus lines up there. The thick lines are those that have service at least every 15 minutes, at least from the AM peak all the way through the PM peak and through the middle of the day. And we've got a fair amount of that down in Pasadena, and it kind of peters out. We also show our equity-focused communities here in the shaded area right there. So those are communities that Metro has identified as more low income, more likely to have one-car households, and so forth. Our top locations in this zone are Pasadena City College and Jet Propulsion Laboratory, also heavy micro users. But as you can see, that's not a high proportion of trips. We're really got people going all over the zone. Go ahead, next slide. So just to focus a little bit on Altadena, I ran some numbers really quickly this morning. In that, approximately that shaded box there, in December, that 54% of rides either started or ended in that quadrant of the zone, which includes the city of Altadena, the entire community of Altadena. That represents about 8,700 boardings, individual passenger boardings. Next slide, please. This wall of text kind of shows you how the zones compare against each other. The zone we're in right now, as I said, has the highest average weekday ridership. It also has the lowest excess demand. This is when people search for a ride and get told, sorry, we're experiencing high demand and can't give you a ride. So it's a really good thing to be the lowest in that, and has the highest proportion of shared rides, which is a really important statistic for us to know that this service is sustainable in the long term. The whole point is we're putting people together and not just driving them around individually like a Uber or Lyft would. Next slide. So at this point, the board has extended the pilot to at least September of 2024. We go back in June for them to reevaluate, and they may extend it another 6 months after that, or we may make it permanent. But we're doing some work in that year they gave us, and one of the things we're working on is introducing a permanent fare We've been operating with an introductory $1 fare since launch, and it's time for us to change that. We're also looking at other things, possibly changing some of the procurement of the services involved in Metro Micro. The next step after we get done with this fare change is to look at our zones, see if we need to adjust any of those boundaries or any of those hours to better target our services at the places and people that need them. And we're also doing some back-end sort of tweaking to try to make this software work as efficiently as possible in the environment that we've put it in. Next slide. So the big news that we've been going around telling everybody about is that, yeah, we are ending the introductory fare of $1, and we're moving to a permanent fare of $2.50 per boarding. Now, at the same time as we're doing this, we're doing some other things to make it a little less painful. But basically, that was the fare we'd originally intended to go forward with, and then the pandemic hit, and then we said, oh, wait a minute. Buses are free right now, and almost nobody's riding them, and we want this service to succeed and be accessible to people whose budgets are more constrained due to losing job hours or entire jobs in the pandemic and so forth. So we put in that introductory rate of $1. We always intended to put it to $2.50 once the pandemic was over. And the pandemic just kind of, I guess now, I'm wearing a mask, but it's over, right? Here we are. This is our lives now. So now it's time for us to move to that permanent fare. Next slide, please. Now, there's several reasons why we want to do this. First of all, we told our board we were going to do this. We told them in October of 2020. We told them again in May of 2021. This is our commitment. This is what they've approved. But we also know that when we made the fare $1, we weren't charging a fare to get on our buses. Now we are. We went back to charging the full $1.75 fare a while ago. So now it's cheaper to get a ride on Micro, and considering that it's a service that has a higher marginal cost per ride, that does not make sense. We also want to improve the integration between Micro and other forms of transit that Metro offers, because we have a lot of people who the microtransit, their gateway drug into transit use. We found that like 11% of our riders that we surveyed in the beginning of 2023 had not ridden any Metro bus or rail services before the pandemic, but now they ride Micro and they also ride other Metro services. So we want to build on that, and we also want to see what we can do to advance our equity goals with this program. So we reassembled the fare working group that had originally determined the fare, and we looked at, what did we already commit to our board? What would be the impact on our ridership, especially folks in our equity-focused communities and other special populations that may be more vulnerable? What would be the impact on the service? People have been really discouraged by the number of search capacity failures. We have too much demand. We can't give you a ride. How would this fare maybe address that? And of course, technological feasibility. What can our existing systems do, and how can we best use that? So we developed this structure. So our new base fare, as mentioned before, is going to be $2.50, and we don't have an implementation date yet because this is going to our board's committee on Thursday and next week to our actual board. So, but this would now include free transfers to Metro Bus and Rail, which are not currently included. And transfers from Metro Bus and Rail would be 75 cents, so it takes you from that $1.75 fare to the $2.50 fare. We will also start accepting Life program free rides. That's low-income fare is easy. And so this is a program where people sign up. When they initially sign up, they get 90 days of unlimited free rides, and then thereafter they get 20 free rides per month for them to use on any of Metro's services and also some of our other TAP partners. And so they would be able to use those also to board Micro at no additional charge. And if they're transferring from another Metro service to Micro, they'd used a Life ride to board that other service, they won't have to pay again on Micro. They won't pay that upcharge. We're also going to make sure that our senior disabled fare card holders, as well as ASI card holders, we've gotten that ask, that's Access Services ID, will still be at that $1 rate. So will our student programs, that's Go Pass, our student reduced fare, and also our UPass holders. Folks that buy the Easy Transit Pass, it's an expensive pass that gives you access to a lot more transit services in one card. If they don't have any zones attached, it's 75 cents, and if they have Zone 1 or higher, then they can ride Metro Micro for free. And transfers from municipal bus lines would be that same 75-cent upcharge plus the 50 cents that Metro already charges for those transfers. Important point on that is this is only for people who are using a tap card to pay for rides. If they're using a credit or debit card to prepay their ride in the app, it's going to be $2.50, and there's not going to be a transfer because there's no way for us to get that information into our tap system. So one would have to select tap payment and use a tap card to pay when they board. Okay, yeah, let's go on. So now we've been in the process of collecting feedback. Now the public comment period ended on Friday. However, this is going to our board, and of course there's always public comment available at our board meetings. So we'll be at the Operations, Safety, and Customer Experience Committee this Thursday at 12:30 p.m. And that's one opportunity to make public comment that still is out there. And we are probably going to the full board next Thursday. So again, so it's not like it's all over, but there you have it. So once we go to the board, we hope that they will approve this plan. And then we can finalize the changes, set an implementation date, and start letting everybody and their mother know that we are changing the fare to that $2.50. We always intended to change it to. And then, of course, the step after that is monitor. Find out what impact that had. How did it change our demand? How did it change now we'll be able to measure transfers between Metro services and Metro Micro. And that's going to be just amazing. We can see if it changed the way certain demographics take advantage of our services. And we can also look at if we saw a spike in applications for these fare programs when this started becoming notified. So that's it for Metro Micro. Now I'm going to hand it over, or are we going to do questions first? Okay. Okay. So then my colleague Wayne Wassell is going to let us know what's been going on with Next-Gen in
Wayne, just a question. How long do you think you need?
I'm trying to make it.
Okay.
I can tell.
Oh, it's two tabs over. It says Metro Micro Next-Gen update. No, that's not it. I saw him send it to you.
You have questions?
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a quick question. So regarding like a recurring daily user rider, do they have to every day reserve a spot, or can they reserve their spot for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time? I'm just curious how that works.
You can do bulk booking up to 7 days in advance. So for example, on Saturday or Sunday, you can reserve your commute to and from your Monday through Friday job for the whole week.
And is the minimum age still 13 or 14 or 13?
13, yes. And that has more to do with laws about using online apps than anything. So at 13, they can use the app, book their own rides, ride unaccompanied, and children of any age can ride with a caregiver as long as if they need it, in an appropriate car seat for their age.
And how has cancellation been
It's better since we implemented automatic booking limits, which actually people who have high rates of no-shows and cancellations then are constrained on how many rides they can book. They can only have 4 rides at a time, and they can only book 2 days in advance, different from what I just told to your colleague right here. And that has improved things. We still have a lot of cancellations. We're still working on that. we just continually are tweaking the settings, and we're now identifying specific users who seem to be in particular patterns and directly contacting them and saying, hey, can we help you use this service more efficiently?
And the app doesn't allow you to determine that a child has requested, that the age of the rider is under a certain limit. I've had many, many conversations with Dave. I've also collected much feedback from parents of children who are using it. And so the issue is that if we're picking up a child that's 14 at night, and then their ride is canceled, and that doesn't happen until minutes before they're supposed to get picked up, and the next ride isn't for an hour, then we have a child that's on a dark corner at night. So is there any way to determine that we're picking up a child?
The ways that we could do that would make the app somewhat harder to use. We can add more passenger types. We've already got 4 different passenger types to help us know what vehicle to send to you and whether you need to pay a fare, because children under 5 and personal care attendants don't pay a fare. So we have made the decision not to do that, because the other thing is, I'm not sure of our software platform's capability to do what you're suggesting, which is to prioritize those rides. We also don't have any way of verifying those ages. So somebody could say, I'm 14 because I want to make sure I always get my ride. Now, what we have done is we have made huge progress on reducing those abandoned rides. So those are down to a fraction of what they used to be. So it's not like it never happens, but it happens much more rarely, which is a big improvement for everyone. Because, you can be 44 and still not feel safe standing on a corner for an hour, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to give Wayne his time, so let's go ahead.
My name is Wayne Wassau. I'm the Senior Planning Manager for the San Gabriel Valley Service Area. I've given this council, and I don't know how many were online, but it's my first time in person, but I've given you guys a briefing on next gen. This is the first time now that I'll be able to give you a ridership update in comparison. Now, just to recap on next gen, prior to pre-next gen, prior to next gen implementation, Metro was losing ridership year after year after year, and there were emerging travel markets that weren't serving very good. And so the next gen 2-year bus study, which was implemented in 2018, was a response to this challenge. And next gen was actually implemented starting in December of 2020. Some of these changes involve lines by themselves, and then other changes involve multiple lines. And why don't we just go to the next slide? I guess it didn't come out. I thought I colored lines that were specific to this service area. So I'll highlight some of them. As you can see, you look at, let's see here, the 264, if you look in the second column under pre-next gen, you had lines 264, 267, 686, 687. That's pre-next gen, I think. Oh. And those lines were changed, and what the result of that was they were restructured into 3 different lines: the 267, the 662, and the 686. Now, if you look at the column under weekday, you can see the change there. We get it. The rate of return of ridership is 83.98%, but if you look at weekends, we're doing better on the weekends than we were doing pre-COVID. Pre-next gen, and then even better on Sunday. And if you look at the very bottom, which you can barely see, under overall recovery rate, weekdays we see 77.10% of what we're boarding. That's all right. And on Saturday it's 82.24%, and then on Sunday we see a return of 89.32% of what we had. So this is just kind of the overall, and you can review this on your own, but every line here you see here, all these lines on weekdays or on Saturday and Sunday, those are the changes that resulted in better ridership than we had pre-COVID. And the thing is, we were losing a lot of ridership as Monica indicated, and then COVID hit us, and we lost 50% of our ridership overnight. So now we're still in a recovery period of trying to get that back. And that was the whole point of next year, was to increase our ridership that we were losing. So we're still in recovery mode. And many of the changes that we made, we're able to make here in the Altadena, Pasadena area and the Sierra Madre area because of Metro Micro. And so this concludes my presentation. We'll entertain any questions.
So just to clarify, hi, over here. This is something where there's specific stops. It's not like it picks you up door to door, similar to like the elderly rides that happen, right?
Right.
I live in the meadows, so I'm curious if they have to come down the hill, but I do see them right at almost the foot, like at Loma Alta Park. Do you guys, because I see the micro all the time in that area. So I was just curious.
There are specific stops. We call them virtual stops. Some of them are at bus stops and some of them are elsewhere, especially where it's very hard for us to get buses because of narrower streets or steeper hills. So I don't know for sure what stops you have up in the meadows, but it is likely that there's something closer to you than your nearest bus stop.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from council?
I just have a quick question. Thank you guys for coming out here because transit is very important, rather vital for many people who also are caregivers, housekeepers, that don't have cars. And yesterday I rode the Metro Micro with a young man who goes to PCC, and I asked him, about the service, and he loves it and he depends on it. So it's definitely something we need, especially since we don't have transit service north of Altadena Drive, other than Metro Micro. So, and then east for sure. So thank you guys. And hopefully whatever evolves, will there be any time to have more conversations with the community to maybe help, like there isn't Metro Micro that goes up to the meadows, and that holds almost 300 homes. And so they have to walk down Canyon Crest to actually get to the bus. And likewise, there are other communities that are just tucked away. So is that going to be part of the future of Next Gen, is also rethinking some of the stops or the zones?
That is definitely something that we've committed to our board to do, is to really evaluate if we have micro where we need it. There may be places that really need this service that we're not covering currently, and there may be places we are covering that frankly do have a good fixed route service. So we need to do that evaluation. We haven't done it yet. And then if we want to make changes to our zones, I think we'd like to come back out to all the service councils and everywhere. We are at the very least going to take it to the board. They want to see it before we were to actually implement anything.
Okay, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. Okay, we're going to move on to our committee reports, and we're moving on to 6-1, Land Use, Chair Markison.
Yes, the Land Use Committee met on January 2nd, and we reviewed one project, voted on the Bernie Restaurant, and we did vote unanimously to recommend approval with conditions, and Nic Arnzen, Councilmember Arnzen and Councilmember Yu are going to present that
Thank you, Chair.
project.
This is a future restaurant located at 875 East Mariposa, requesting the sale of beer and wine for on-site consumption. The Land Use Committee reviewed the project, as Chair Markison mentioned. We reviewed both in October and this past month. We had discussion, and a motion was made for Town Council to recommend approval. The Land Use Committee motion passed unanimously. The applicant's consultant, Sarah Houghton, is here to give a quick final review of the project. Thank you, Sarah. And Dorothy, you have the files?
Or not.
I do have a thumb drive here.
Chair, as she looks, can I give due diligence? Okay. Sarah, I'm just going to do due diligence real quick. You can stay there while she finds it. Because this concerns an alcohol CUP, canvassing included a 1,000-foot radius. There were 432 addresses visited. When not available, information was left. We interacted directly in person, email correspondence, and follow-up calls with 63 residents and business owners, 52 in favor, 1 opposed, 10 neutral. While I don't have record of the opposition, it was strictly they did not want any alcohol in Altadena at all. But we do have some recorded comments that I need to quick read into record. Jacob from Ace Smoke Shop at 2501 Lake said, "Go ahead, we are community, let's do it. This is a big plus for the area." Carciafi Designs at 865 East Mariposa, "We're good, we want this." Deb at Miss Dragon Copy 873 East Mariposa, "This is directly next door. Parking will be terrible, and it already is." Staff at John Deal State Farm 835 East Mariposa Street said they're very excited. Residents at 2560 and a half El Molino, "This is great for Altadena." 1016 Beverly Way, "Happy to have more alcohol at local restaurants." 945 Beverly Way, "Totally for it." And finally, Melissa, a resident on Deodora Drive, sent me a correspondence saying, "I'm unable to make it to Tuesday's meeting, but I wanted to take a moment to voice my support for liquor licenses. I have been living in Altadena for about 6 years now, and I love it. The only drawback is that there aren't a lot of local restaurants. I know for most restaurants, alcohol is an important part of their profits and helps them stay afloat. I would really like to see Maya Thai and this new restaurant, both of which I can walk to, which makes me happy, be able to sustain themselves in our neighborhood. I hope you and the council will vote in support of these permits." Lastly, I wanted to point out there's 8 known sensitive use spaces nearby for our schools. And also there is a training facility called Two Dragons, Code Ninjas, and Fly High Adventure Park. Of the 8, there was no mention of opposition. We make every effort to talk directly to them, and 5 were in favor. The other 3 made no comment. And I think we're ready to look at Sarah's presentation. Thank you, Sarah.
I think we figured it out. And I do have a hard copy if anyone would prefer to flip through some paper, either in the general public. Yes? It is, yes. I apologize for the date. Yeah. There were no changes. Good evening. My name is Sarah Houghton with 360. Thank you for having us here this evening. It's actually been really informative to hear about some of the planning stuff going on. I am here today on behalf of the applicant. Tyler Wells and his team run All Time Restaurant in Los Feliz. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And they're local residents of Altadena, and we're excited to find a space and bring this new restaurant to Mariposa. So we'll just run through a brief presentation. I have some zoning, some plans, and some renderings. So next slide. So the project site is located with frontage along Mariposa Street, just west of Lake Avenue. It's located within the Altadena Community Plan and is in C3 Unlimited Commercial Zone and in a CSD, which is a Community Standards District. It's designated for general commercial land uses, so restaurant uses are by right. And obviously our request, as mentioned, is for the service of beer and wine in conjunction with the restaurant, which will be primarily a dinner spot. As you can see, it's the second tenant space in this existing building of 5 tenant spaces. So next slide, if it's not too blasted out. You can see on the bottom, maybe go to the next slide, is easier to see. So the space is currently the photography store. So the restaurant will go into that tenant space. The primary frontage is along Mariposa. It will have 12 outdoor tables and 45 interior seats. So this building was originally built in 1923. The overall building size is just over 8,500 square feet, and the rest of the businesses will be staying. You can go to next slide. Here was the zoning that we were talking about earlier. The tenant space itself, as you can see, is just under 1,400 square feet. Next slide. And as I've already noted here, a lot of the information about the existing development, the proposed improvements, and then the hours of operation 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. Again, applicant has told me they'll probably just start with dinner service, so it's not that they'll be serving necessarily at 11 a.m. unless they find that there is the crowd for it, if you will. So again, we're here tonight looking for support for our request to planning for an alcohol beverage sales CUP, basically. Next slide. I know it's a little hard to read. I do have paper copies of the plans, but it is a long and narrow space. The next slide will have a better floor plan. Go ahead. Sorry, it's still a little, I should have enlarged it. So as you come in the front door, there are 2 and 4 top seating in that main front space. As you move through the restaurant, you'll see there is a counter bar service on the right-hand side. And then on the left-hand side, it's a little hard to see, but those are banquet seatings. We'll see them in the renderings with featured seating at the midpoint to rear. The back of house is service and prep is at the rear. There will be public restrooms, well, restrooms for patrons. You can go to the renderings, that may help. So the nature of the menu and the food service that this group prefers or supports is very much a farmers market driven, local, seasonal fare, and the design also reflects kind of a very straightforward, simple aesthetic. And this project is, they have received their tenant improvement or interior building permit approvals. So you can see on the slide on the left, those are the tabletop seating when you first enter. The slide on the right, we've created just, it's a very narrow space, but at least a little bit of a special elevated seating area. The banquettes will just have a single step up, and then you see there are bar seating at the counter. Next slide. And this is toward the back of the space. There will be a larger booth that's semi-enclosed or could be private if you wanted it to be, for larger groups to dine together. And then at the very back there would be restrooms. And on the right-hand side, the back of house or kitchen service area. And next slide. And that is it. So available for questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Chair, I'd like to move to the motion, and then we can have discussion after. I do. The motion will include the conditions. Great. I'm going to turn to my council mate. Kim, if you can read the motion and conditions into record, after which we will open up for any questions from council.
Absolutely. In the matter of CUP number RPPL 2023-002959, project number SPR RPPL 2023-002960, concerning the establishment at 875 East Mariposa Street, site of future Bernie Restaurant, requesting the sale of beer and wine for on-site consumption. I move that the Altadena Town Council recommend approval of the following conditions. 1, the sale of beer and wine shall be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday, and 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. No alcohol shall be served at the site beyond 10 p.m. on Sunday to Thursday and 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Any unfinished serving already being consumed at the time shall be consumed within 60 minutes of the latest permitted time to serve alcohol at the site. 2, all regulation of the state of California prohibiting the sale of alcoholic beverages to minors shall be strictly enforced. 3, the permittee shall post or otherwise provide telephone numbers of local law enforcement agencies and taxi cab companies at or near the cashier or similar public service areas. Such telephone numbers shall be visible by and available to the general public. 4, there shall be no consumption of alcoholic beverages outside the designated areas of the subject facility. The permittee shall instruct all designated employees who directly serve or in the practice of selling alcoholic beverages regarding this restriction. 5, The committee shall develop and implement a designated driver program, i.e. free soft drink or coffee to a designated driver of a group. The committee shall submit the program to the Director of Planning for approval prior to the approval of the CUP. All employees shall be trained on the program. Notice of such a program shall be placed or easily visible by patrons inside the premises. 6, all service of alcoholic beverages must be at least 18 years of age. 7, there shall be no music or other noise audible beyond the restaurant premises. The restaurant shall comply with all LA County noise ordinance provisions. 8, not less than 51% of the income from the business enterprise shall be derived from the sale of food and non-alcoholic beverages. Shall be derived from the sale of food and non-alcoholic beverages. The business owner shall at all times maintain records which reflect separately the gross sale of food and the gross sale of alcoholic beverages. Said records shall be available to the Los Angeles County Department of Regional Planning, the Department of Alcoholic Beverages Control, or the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department on demand. 9, food service shall be continuously provided during operating hours. 10, no service of alcoholic drinks will be done in disposable cups of any type. 11, the outdoor seating area shall be clearly defined and follow all ABC rules for outdoor areas. 12, the sidewalk access will remain clear with a minimum walkway width of 5 feet or fire code allowance. 13, a trash can shall be provided in the outdoor area and emptied regularly. 14, the permittee and all managers and designated employees of the establishment who directly serve or are in the practice of selling alcoholic beverages shall participate in the LEAD Licensee Education on Alcoholic and Drugs program. All new designated employees shall be required to attend. The licensee shall display a certificate or plaque in a publicly accessible area of the establishment, such as the lobby, indicated they have participated in the program. Proof of completion of the facilities training program by employees, the licensee, and all managers shall be available upon request. 15, alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption shall be sold to customers only when food is ordered. And 16, there will be no alcoholic beverages sold for off-site consumption. That concludes the condition.
I second.
So we can open for discussion, but as a reminder to the full council, everything is as is when we last presented. Is there any further discussion or questions? Dorothy?
I was just listening to the points, and we just did finish with this amazing Metro Micro service. So I don't know if we can even think about transit options. We're just talking about, maybe that's just an ABC thing, but essentially we do have a transit service that could pick people up.
Thank you.
I would just like to make sure that it's clear. I think the motion said that we were approving the conditions, and we're actually approving the CUP.
She misspoke.
Okay.
The council recommend approval with the following conditions.
Okay, approval of the CUP. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding, or any other discussion? Okay.
I think we're ready for a vote, Chair.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. We will recommend approval to regional planning. Okay, thank you so much for being here, Sarah. And just to confirm that you read all the public comment that you had for this into record. Okay, great. There was none from tonight.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. I just did want to say that for anybody that's interested, April 11th is the next Washington Boulevard Road Improvement Project meeting. There'll be notices that go out to everybody, but nothing's going on. In the meantime, they're looking for vendors and stuff. So just so everybody knows, April 11th, that's all.
Okay, moving on to our next committee report, which is Safe Streets. Councilmember Wong.
Thank you, Chair Knapp. So just quickly, the Safe Streets Committee meets on the fourth Thursday of every month. So our next meeting is January 25th at 7 p.m. And we heard a lot about pedestrian safety and different types of traffic safety in our community. The bicycle mass, so please come and attend. It's virtual on Zoom, and you can find how to join in, online at Altadena Town Council, Safe Streets. But I'll do a post on that. And then I don't know if I gave the update, but the bicycle master plan is going to start phase 3, which will be doing more community engagement before it goes into the next phase, which is then the environmental impact. So this is a key time to really get involved in the bicycle master plan. It's not just bicycles, it is really mobility, and it does also relate to ways to make it safer for everyone to use the road. So anyway, get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wong. Moving on to Communications Committee, Councilmember Arnzen.
Thank you, Chair. Real briefly, council members, I put out the information for the new welcome packs if you want. I printed out some copies here to help you. I will say we're going to put some together on Friday, and I think we're down to about 5, so if you can hold off, great. And in general, I'm always looking for more committee members. The welcome packs in particular, I want to do a Spanish version. So if there's any council members or public who can help with that process, that'd be great. I'm also looking in 24 to expand it to renters, as they are an important part of our community. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Moving on, public comment.
I've got 4 public comment. We'll just start right from the top. Jonah and Patrick, I'll bring you, Patrick and Tamanika, I will bring you up together. They're both here to speak about the potential business on Fair Oaks at Ventura. You each will have 2 minutes for public comment. Our friend Chris will let you know when we're running tight. Thank you. Whenever you're ready. Patrick?
Okay, thank you very much, Council. I'm Patrick Gauthier at 42 East Terrace. And this is with regard to a proposed Dollar General store on Fair Oaks, and would be replacing the Baja Ranch market that used to be there. And I am not a fan. I'm here to let you know I think this is a move that would detract from the community. I think it's an outfit that adds no value. As a matter of fact, it's probably one of the few retailers that's had 75 cities and town councils around the country tell them they cannot set up shop in their communities. These are retailers that target black and brown communities on purpose. They target communities that are food deserts and make them worse. We could use fruits and vegetables in a decent market where Baja Fresh was, but another dollar store when you can drive a quarter mile down Fair Oaks and bump into yet another dollar store and 3 liquor stores on, within 100 yards, a stone's throw, is going to exacerbate a crime problem on Fair Oaks and Woodbury in that area that we don't need. I don't know why this is even on the table. And this is a company whose profits leave the state, and they are not going to do any good whatsoever for our property values, the tax revenue in this part of the county. I just think it's a terrible, terrible idea in a community that doesn't need any more crime at all. And I'll turn it over to Tamanika.
Thank you, Patrick. Tamanika?
Hi, I'm Tamanika Ivy. I live at 13 East Terrace. Patrick is my neighbor, and he let us know that what the plans were for that area. We all have been very hopeful that we would have more of a full-service grocery store that would provide possibly organic fruits and vegetables and just, good food. For some reason, they've decided that Altadena doesn't deserve that. And every store that they build is like grocery outlet, which I have no problem with. It's just that a lot of us shop in La Cañada. Places like the grocery outlet and Aldi and the dollar store, it's good for some things, but it doesn't have enough diversity in the products. And it just seems like we deserve to have that. Many communities do, and we're taking so much money out of Altadena into La Cañada. I've been shopping in La Cañada since the Ralph's closed. So, I mean, just to have a nice market with a deli, a bakery, good produce, I think that's really what people want. And we definitely don't want another dollar store. There's one on Lake already, then there's one down Fair Oaks, and I just think that's enough for that. And we need to have some more diversity that responds to the diversity in the community. So then that's all.
Thank you, Tamanika. Jonah, we'll do you next, and Fluente, you will follow Jonah. This is Jonah Canner, Beverly Drive. Jonah, Beverly Drive, just so I can identify which council member to give this to. It is you? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Jonah. It's my first time at one of these meetings, so I want to start by saying thank you to all of you for serving our community. I'm so grateful. I know it's a tireless effort, so thank you for that. I live near 1 block off of Washington Boulevard. I attend Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. I recently learned that LA County is planning to repave Altadena Drive and Washington Boulevard. Great. This creates a rare opportunity to improve safety on these streets. We heard in the feedback on the community development plan that safe walking and biking and walkable neighborhoods is a huge priority for our community. These are both high collision corridors. My rough estimate based on traffic collision data is that this corridor sees about a collision a week or about 50 collisions per year. I think that's too many, and we should take this opportunity to make these streets safer. On Altadena Drive in particular, the county has already designed a new lane configuration that includes a center turn lane. This design has been proven to reduce collisions by 20 to 40%. And yet, the current plan doesn't involve putting this in. So after repaving, we'll have a choice to make. Some lanes are going to need to be restriped on the street. For the same cost, we could stripe on the old, current, dangerous configuration, or we could stripe on a design which is known to reduce collisions by about 30%. So that's a really unique opportunity. It also includes bike lanes, and by the way, Altadena Drive goes to Eaton Canyon. Again, we heard in the planning document that this is a community that values those outdoor spaces. Gosh, I'd like to be able to ride my bike to Eaton Canyon. That seems like a really basic thing to want. In addition, I think there's a lot of opportunities to improve the pedestrian crossings, particularly on Washington Boulevard. There's a thing called RFFBs that would be a big help. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jonah. And lastly, Fluente Riddle.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Fluente Riddle, and congratulations to the new town council, and I see a lot of friends here. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and to some and say hello to others, as I am a candidate for state assembly. Assembly member Chris Holden has termed out. I'm his former district director, and he has endorsed me. I grew up here in Altadena, literally in the meadows, and I know a lot about walking and hiking and riding bikes. I'm very happy that I had the opportunity with my sisters and family to grow up here. I've since lived in Pasadena, and as many of you know, I served with the Pasadena Police Department for 29 years, the first in many, many areas as an African-American woman, and I was happy that as a lieutenant, I did a lot of mutual aid here, working on community outreach programs with the Altadena Sheriffs. As the district director, I worked on the goal line as well as mental health, worked a lot on the dual enrollment to ensure that our high school students had the opportunity to take college courses while they were in high school. And then also I work on the judicial areas. I'm currently a commissioner. I was appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. And I do trauma-informed care. I have a doctorate in psychology. And I do trauma-informed care for the incarcerated youth of our state for some of the most egregious crime and help them with their reentry, obtaining their high school diplomas, and working with unions to ensure that they get apprenticeship programs so that when they reenter, it reduces their risk to recommit. I would like to tell you we have 7.5 weeks before ballots, literally March 6th, March 5th. And so you will see your ballots in your mail on February 5th, and I will remind you to vote. Again, my name's Falante Riddle, and I look forward to working with you as I've done for the last 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Falante. Chair, that's all the public comment I have.
Great. Thank you so much to the members of the public who stayed. And we know our meeting goes long, and we appreciate your hanging with us. We are moving toward the end of our meeting. We have one census tract report, which is for Census Tract 4601. I received several emails, as did zoning enforcement, regarding the clearing of trees at a property on North Altadena Drive at Crescent Drive. An inspection was conducted and determined that several trees were cut down in the northernmost part of the property. It actually was surrounding the property. The trees that were removed were species that were not protected by law. There is a group of existing oak trees in the southern part, and those remain intact with no cuts or pruning. So there was no zoning violation. So I just wanted to report back to everyone that, yes, you were heard, and someone did go out and take a look, and everything is copacetic at the property. So that concludes my report for 4601. That is it for tonight's meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Was that a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much.
Council, the chairs can stay in place. We just need to get rid of the tables.